Hey everybody, Ray here. You know, I have made multiple videos talking about the Cen-Tec company, and I've done that because I think they just do a great job of addressing the needs for people like me and probably you that have a small shop but you want to have quality dust collection. Now, Cen-Tec is a large company. They make commercial type vacuum systems, but again, they also address the needs of the small shop, which I think is just awesome. They know their vacuum stuff. So today, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the things that I have from Cen-Tec and also a couple of new additions to their accessories line that I think are outstanding. Now, I made a whole video about their dust collection kit that can be floor mounted as well as wall mounted. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this, but I'll reference that video below. But there are a lot of accessories that came with that if you buy the specific kit that I have here. But you can buy all of these accessories separate. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I also did a whole separate video about the quick click connections. And these connections will fit practically every tool in your arsenal. And then the quick click hose will connect to that and then feed it right into your dust collection system. So again, I'll reference the video below where I talk about these quick click connections, but they're just awesome. As well as, because they're a vacuum company, they pay a lot of attention to things that you might want to vacuum up on the floor or in your car. So it's not necessarily just for dust collection. But one thing that I do like to use is their system that allows me to vacuum my floor, because it gives me these two rods here that make it easy for me to get to the floor. When I talk about that system in the other video, I talk about how they made this cutout of the brushes on top so you can pick up all of the larger particles of dust and they'll get sucked right up in the hose instead of just getting pushed along in the floor. One thing that I think that some people get confused about is, because I did when I received this, I thought, well, this is great. So I can take my quick click connection hose and I can connect it to one of these quick click connectors and just put it right in there, and then I can go to work vacuuming. But when you try to vacuum, it just pulls out because it doesn't fit tightly enough in that. Well, what I found was they had also sent me this piece right here. And that piece fits in there perfectly. And it allows you to vacuum and also allows that hose to swivel and pivot. And it connects right here to the quick click system. Another accessory they have is this, it's just kind of a wide mouth, if you will, vacuum attachment. And it connects through the quick click hose like all of these do. And the example that they give is they've got it sitting on a workbench like that, and they're in there with a Dremel and working with a Dremel. So instead of all that fine particle dust from the Dremel getting all over your workbench, it's sucking it right into this accessory right here. It works really well. What I've used it for is, I had to mount something the other day in drywall. So I had to drill holes into the drywall to get to the stud where I wanted to put the screw in. Well, you know how it is when you're drilling drywall, you're just making a mess with all that drywall dust coming down. Well, holding this underneath that drill and then drilling in, all that drywall dust just went right into this, kept it clean as a whistle. The other thing that I did was, I was at my daughter's house. They have a very old home. Some of the paint where the door had been painted, I don't know, 4 times or something like that, was starting to come and flake off. So I knew I needed to scrape that off before I could sand it down and repaint it. Well, you know how paint flakes are. When you scrape those off, they're so hard and flat, and they fall down on the floor, and they are a devil to try to sweep up. Well, I did the same thing just like I did with the drywall. I held this underneath, and then as I was scraping and then later sanding that door, all of those chips of paint and all of that dust went right down into here. So multiple uses for this tool. Another super idea, at least I think anyway, because they solved a problem that I used to have, and I wish I knew about this when I had the problem, was a lot of people will mount a dust separator to a bucket that you can get from Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that, one of the 5-gallon buckets. And it really works great. In fact, I've got a video, I'll reference it below, that shows you how to mount one of these to one of the 5-gallon buckets that you could get from Lowe's or Home Depot. One of the problems is that the sides of those buckets are not that strong. This is really thick. You're not going to have a problem with this bucket that comes from Cen-Tec. But one of those ones from Lowe's or Home Depot, when you're vacuuming, it could have a tendency to want to buckle that side in. Have you ever seen that? If you've got a 5-gallon bucket dust separator, you probably have. And I used to have that happen quite often. And I put pieces of wood in there and stuff to try to keep it from collapsing in. Well, what they came up with here is this pressure relief valve, or I guess you'd call it a vacuum relief valve. And what you do is drill a hole through the top of your bucket, and then you put this underneath and you take this piece and you mount it on top. The piece on top has a gasket that you can seal it all the way down, or you can open it very slightly. If you open it very slightly, it will let some air travel in here and let you control the vacuum so you don't collapse your bucket. I thought that this was just really a cool idea. Another great accessory for small shops is this blast gate system that will fit on a smaller 2.5-inch diameter system like this. Now, I wouldn't mount it on this one on wheels. I'd have this mounted to the wall if I was going to use it. But what this allows you to do is you can now connect 2 hoses to this. I connect it so one is going to my table saw and the other one is going to my miter saw. So when I'm working between the two, I always used to have to change the hose from my miter saw over to my table saw when I changed using those tools. Well, with this, you can have 2 hoses, you leave them both hooked up to your tools, and then you just open the blast gate for the one that you want to use. And when you're ready to switch, you close that and you open this one. It works really well. I'll give you a picture of how this is set up. But you know, you see this kind of a thing in these larger shops or even small shops that have the 4-inch hose systems. You see a lot of these blast gates because it's really much more efficient when you're switching vacuums from one tool to another. So the way I kind of look at this is I've got a little shop, got the 2.5-inch hoses and so forth, but you know, kind of feel like I got a big boy shop now because I've got my own blast gates, and I think they work really well. So those are just a few of the accessories that I think Cen-Tec has just gone above and beyond in trying to take care of the small shop people like me. And I think they all work really well. They're all really well thought out. If you buy the kit that I mentioned in my other video, you would not only get this, but you would get a lot of this vacuum system and vacuum hose attachments and so forth, and you would get all of these. But what I really like about Cen-Tec is you can kind of build your own system. You may not need all the stuff that comes with this. You may not need this, but you might want the quick click hose system, and you might want the blast gates, or you might want these adapters for all of your tools. All of this stuff can be purchased separately. It doesn't have to be purchased in a kit. And furthermore, my coupon code that they've allowed me to give to you is still active. I'll list that on the screen here, as well as I'll put it in the description below. So you can get 20% off anything that you buy from Cen-Tec. And that's not a single-use coupon. You can go back and use that coupon as many times as you want. And they do that because Ray Storty, who runs the company, understands that what happens is you'll buy some stuff off of Cen-Tec, and then you'll go, gee, I wanted this and I wanted this. Boy, I forgot I really wanted this piece too. Or if I had this piece, it would really make this system even better. Go back and use that 20% code again. He encourages that. And don't forget, if you have any comments to make, you can make them in my video here, and I will share those comments with Cen-Tec Systems. Or you can go on their website and leave them comments there. They are very responsive to the small shop owners like us, and they really want to design things to make our lives easier. Hey, I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget, hit me with that thumbs up. I really appreciate that, and I'll see you on the next video.